Hey, what's up? So I watched Lilo and Stitch and I really liked it. I think most of the discourse online is that it's pretty bad and it's worse in every single way. And I can totally see where they're coming from. This movie is really flawed and makes a lot of poor changes that just make things a lot worse for the narrative. Like mild spoilers, they really mess up the Pleakley and Jumba stuff. They split Cobra Bubbles into two characters. They add a new neighbor. David is not really there. Make some changes with Nani. Make changes with the way how Stitch decides to leave and kind of cut out a lot of Stitch's characterization and character arc. The first act is like a really weird like clip show where they're like going from beat to beat, where it's goofy and funny and stuff that we remember from the first movie, or just like the spirit of Stitch being played out in an interesting new way in live action. But it's just like so jarring and so fast, and it just feels like it's bouncing from highlight to highlight. It's not very cohesive. And it's good because the original was good, but I think it takes too long for the ball to get rolling and for us to get into the story, into the meat of it. But I still left this movie really, really liking it. I think Stitch is great, even though he's not as prominent as we thought he might be, or like he was in the original. I think he's not as cute as the animated one, but he's as good as he would get in live action. He was very goofy, very fun. The girl who played Lilo is really good. The dynamics between Nani and Lilo were realistic and resonant, I think. And I'm just a sucker for broken family dramas, and I think it's good enough that I like it, but a lot of personal bias goes into that. I think the main thing that people are getting mad at is Nani at the end of the movie. She gives up guardianship of Lilo, and online I'm seeing like, oh, like she gave up Lilo to the state and it was terrible and it ruins the whole thing of Ohana, and Ohana just means foster care, or Ohana just means leaving people behind so you can like go selfishly live out your dreams. And I do think the ending isn't very good, but not because it's a poor choice that misunderstands the movie. I think it just wasn't executed or set up very well. The way that I understand it, the core of the original movie is Ohana means family, and family means no one is left behind. I'm not the biggest fan, I'm not the biggest stan, I don't know all the lore and the character arcs and the little details of the first movie, but that's the general gist that I get of it. And I think the idea of Nani going to college and realizing that she can't be the mother that she wants to be for Lilo is a good step and a realistic step there. And I think that you can argue that Nani having the freedom to go chase her dreams is in line with Ohana means family and family means no one gets left behind. The idea that her dreams have been left behind for so long because she's had to jump into this role of being the mother because her parents unfortunately died, right? And that idea of Lilo wanting her sister to be able to go fulfill that potential. And like I think that is a way of seeing how Ohana family can be supportive and loving towards one another and reciprocating this idea of like, I want you to succeed and I want you to thrive and be happy. I think the common counterpoint is that Ohana means literally staying together and sticking it out as a family. And I think that's true, but that also does not mean that Nani should be the guardian of Lilo. Because, like, plainly, that is not the best option. Like, we've seen her be a total mess when it comes to being a mom. And I don't think it needs to be an either or. Like, I can see a version of this movie that probably plays a lot better of, like, oh, maybe she goes to the University of Hawaii to go study whatever. And maybe it's not the best marine biology program in the world, but she goes to be able to start her career and she's still able to stay nearby Lilo, right? I think the point of her is not to be, oh, Ohana means you need to be the guardian of your sister, but Ohana means you're going to stick around and you're going to really invest and try to continue, maintain, and deepen that relationship with your sister. Is that as compelling as the original story and the original core of the movie of how it related to Lilo and Nani and Stitch kind of coming together? Probably not, but I think I respect this movie for trying to do something different. And I think if you are translating this to live action, Lilo probably coming off as more annoying in live action as a real kid. And I think it makes sense to kind of shift it to Nani being more of a central character, where she is more the central thrust of the plot and the internal conflict. A big thing that this movie kind of talks about is the idea of kuleana, which I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's basically the responsibility or the obligation or the privilege that you have to each other to care for one another in a community, or what you kind of owe to each other. And man, even if you want, you can like throw out the Ohana thing and like make the kuleana thing a new like idea of, right, of like, what is your responsibility of what you are obligated to do or should do or would be best to do. For Nani, she feels like that's taking care of her sister and kind of sacrificing her dreams. Like, she is a talented, smart person who is out here like doing waitress jobs and stuff like that, right? She has sacrificed. And for Lilo, I think there's kind of an aspect of, oh, like, as you learn to kind of take care of an animal and learn to be selfless and learn what it means to be good or bad, like there is a responsibility, a kuleana of like you behaving and what you like need to do. And there's like aspects of that in the movie where I think Stitch is outside of that one like restaurant, and he's like stacking up like those glass bottles or whatever. And Lilo is teaching him like, oh, what you should or should not do. Like, what is your responsibility to do this or whatever, or to be good or to behave. And maybe that's just me thinking that's a really interesting idea of like, what is the family obligation that we have towards each other, to our community, to our neighbors, and to like this family that we either create ourselves or is blood related, right? And I think philosophically, Nani is not the best person to be the mother for Lilo. And so maybe the best thing for her, which is something that the social worker says in the movie, is for her to not be the guardian, right? But to still be there. I do think it's a cop out in some ways for her to have like that ray gun to be able to always go back and forth in college and also see Lilo. But I think there's something there that works for the generation of people that grew up with Lilo and Stitch. Now, at this time, maybe they are adults, they are parents themselves. And I think you can see more of where Nani's coming from the older you are, right? Seeing the sacrifices that she has to make, the choices that she decides not to make for Lilo, right? She's this really good surfing star, intelligent scientist, bright girl who has already decided to turn down UCSD. And that's a characterization that was not present in the original movie. And I think that is what live action adaptations need to do. They need to evolve the character in some way, because I think when we see, I don't know, The Lion King or different other movies here and there that Disney has done, we see the exact same story, exact same message, exact same character arcs play out. And we're like, oh, like that was cool. But it was like, man, it was just the same thing. And there's kind of like that no man's land of like, we don't want something completely different, but we also don't want the same thing. And I think something that you need to do creatively for live action remakes is to evolve the characters and bring them a step further in one way, to add extra depth, to tweak their characterizations, to bring something a little bit new, to tell a slightly different story with a little bit more nuance, in a way where we aren't changing the whole entire story, but we're giving something new and exciting to those who have really loved the series, right? We see that more clearly with Nani, with her having more agency and more desires and more skills or whatever. And I think with the idea of Kuleana and sacrificing, we can do that for Lilo. And as the audience that loved her in 2002 ages, we can also evolve and age up Lilo in a way, even though she's not being changed in the actual story age. Like the reason why I like the Kuleana idea of like, it's a two-way street of I sacrifice, you sacrifice, we sacrifice for each other, is I think that's a more realistic picture of what Ohana means. Family fights for each other. Family gives up things for each other. And I don't think it's fully fair that Nani has to sacrifice everything for Lilo, even though that's like a typical thing that many parents need to do, many older siblings who become surrogate parents have to do. And they grow up faster to make sure that their younger siblings don't need to. And I understand that's how real life is. It's not fair, and sometimes, most times, like, that's just the reality we live in. But also, this is a Disney movie, which is not to say that it can't be realistic and heavy and real, but I think Disney is at its best when it's inspiring, where it's pushing for more, pushing for optimism and positivity, where maybe this world isn't like this, but maybe this is what it could be. And I think that could be a really heartwarming, good thing to aspire to be, to shoot for. And I think this is a good opportunity to allow Lilo to take that extra step of being like, no, I'm going to maybe also sacrifice and allow Nani to kind of do some stuff. That Kuleana, that responsibility of I want to see you do what's best. And I think that recognition of Nani deciding to give up guardianship because she knows that is probably what is best for Lilo, and Lilo seeing maybe, oh, okay, I'll let my sister like go to college, or I will push her to go to college or push her to chase her dreams because I know that is what is best for her. I think that could be really sweet. Just in the same way that Stitch decided to leave because he realized, man, me being here is not best for them. What is best for them is for me to leave so I can. And I'm not saying that this movie had that, or this was in the movie and that's why the movie is good. I think the movie really butchers this whole idea of like Nani chasing her dreams and stuff, and it is not earned at all in that context. But I think I'm trying to defend the concept of what the filmmakers might have been going for, because I think it's an oversimplification to just say, oh, Nani gave up Lilo, bad ending, doesn't understand Ohana or like the main core of the movie. It might not be the same exact message, but I think that same thrust is there. I think you could build that out more in the movie in like the first and second acts. And I don't think that has to be like, oh, Nani's now the main character, where it's just Nani instead of Lilo and Stitch, right? But that's something you can thread through the movie. So that like you get that level of adults who watch this kind of get to see things from Nani's perspective and see that struggle, where the kids are still going to see the fun like Lilo and Stitch stuff and her like being lonely and trying to find a friend and family. And obviously there were problems with how that wasn't done very well, and Stitch was stripped of a lot of his characterization, and like there's not the ugly duckling scene, and Lilo doesn't hit the kids or show like the weird like doll that she has. But I do like the somewhat boldness that they tried to have with this movie. It wasn't just copy and paste shot for shot. They tried something there. And I think for that, I do have to respect it. So, the new Lilo and Stitch. Was it bad? No. Was it good? No. But it probably could have been. And I think that's exciting to see, hopefully, for the future of Disney live action movies.